could have been me in a suit, but you had your cake and you eating it too. Fuck, you never thought you'd go back on your word. Broken promises set me back down to earth, back down on the curb. Guess time heals all acceptance. Cut deep enough to leave me infected. I fell victim to hoes' intentions. Because of you, I can't make a connection. Everybody in question knew you got around. Guess I loved you in denial. Shouldn't have let receipts. Now I got you on fire. Shit might get released when you walk down the aisle. Exposed to who you are.
Yes, sir. A good evening, a good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of High Top Sports. We have a jam-packed show. We've got special guest after special guest this evening. Boys and girls, buckle up, get back, buck nasty, because it's going to be a good one. From an all kinds of weather, we got Neil and Chris. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Glad to have you. How you doing? How you feeling?
Doing great. Good to be on the show with you all.
Happy to have you.
Man. Definitely loving those shades that Soder Chris is wearing right now. That is setting the vibe early and strong.
Got to for this weekend.
Yes, sir. Early and strong is a fact. And Mr. Swoderquist, baby, bringing the
What's up,
heat
baby?
and thunder already. What's up, big dog? How you doing? Piss missiles, baby. Let's get it.
Hey, you know what? It was a long weekend, and we're already here to Wednesday. It's 8:35, the best day of the week, the best time of the week. Let's get it. Let's go.
Let's get it. Dave was partying all weekend. I saw him in his jacuzzi, tweeting out pictures and all kinds of nonsense, having a good time. So Dave was living his best life as he always is. But you guys are already in the chat. I already got 80 people in here hanging out with us. We're not even 2 minutes in. Loving the energy. Godspeed, my boy. What's up, baby? How you doing? F's Fanatic, Sean, Chris Charlie, Piss Missiles, baby. Harrison Sanchez, what's going on, big dog? Welcome to the show. Sean McCain, Christopher Brantley, Gator Nation, Andrew Apple, what's up? Anthony Owens, is best show in the land. Let him know, baby. Let him know. Ed DePriest, what's up, baby? Welcome to the show. Adrian, how you doing, big dog? What else we got? Clint, what up, baby? Trev. So what's up, fam? How you doing, big dog? Mama, how are you? Good to see you. And I think that's all we got for now. Always grinding. What's up, man? And Blanco. Boys, welcome to the show. West Day, what's going on, man? Let's get it. Let's have a fantastic show. Obviously, it's jam-packed. We've got the guys from all kinds of weather on. They're going to talk about Gator baseball because that thing is hot and spicy. Gator golf is on right now. I was watching that before the show started. They were up 3-2 when I had to go away. So if you guys could update me in the chat, I would highly appreciate that. Not sure we got many golf guys in here, but just do your boy a solid, okay? You know I love my golf, so let me know what's going on down there. Talk about Jubilee weekend. It's going viral. I don't know if you guys saw, but Jubilee was trending all week last week. I appreciate you guys tweeting that out there. Not really, but let's see if we can get it going this week before this weekend happens. We're going to talk about some crystal balls, some recruiting, some Billy Napier discussion about tampering. We'll get into that. FSU talk, Elite 11 talk, and then must-win games for Florida, some Pac-12 conversation. It's a jam-packed show, so sit back, relax, have a good time, grab yourself a drink. Without further ado, boys and girls, let's dive right into the business here. Gator baseball. These boys have been humping. Lost to Vandy in the SEC championship. Not a big fan of how that format played out. I believe baseball is a series game. You can't have. I know it was double elimination, but it became single elimination at the end there. Not a huge fan of it. We're even going into it's double elimination, but it's a one-game series against Florida A&M coming up on Friday. But I'm going to pass it to the guys in all kinds of weather to talk a little bit more about that and kind of this historic run and what they think we can do moving forward. Gents?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the mantra for this year's team has to be Omaha or bust. I mean, after the last couple of seasons, the obvious disappointment of losing in your own regional 2 years in a row is something that the University of Florida baseball program is just not accustomed to. And this year's team has been the team that I think a lot of fans have been looking at and going, okay, they look special. They look like they could be that team. I mean, the Gators went to 4 straight College World Series, which is, for those who don't know, which is like the Elite Eight of baseball, for 4 straight seasons from 15 to 18, and won a national championship in that stretch and made 2 other national semifinals. So that's kind of what the Gator baseball fan base is used to. This team right now that Florida has looks like the most complete, the best, and just the most dominant we've had since that stretch. So the hype is warranted, and I think it's very fair to say, especially with the draw that we got to the College World Series. Anything less than that will absolutely be a disappointment. But we're not going to talk about the negative side of things. We're going to keep things positive here. I know that's what everyone's here for. So we'll talk positive. This team has a good chance to make the College World Series. I'll word it like that and give you guys some good vibes.
Chris?
Yeah, definitely. And I think just the fan base is hungry for some success in a major sport, right?
Sure.
I mean, unfortunately, Neil and I have talked about this. Football, basketball, it's obvious. Like, it's not where we want it to be right now. But, if baseball can, bring a national championship home, it certainly could give the fan base something to look forward to and be happy about and excited about. So, and just as the baseball season's gone on, as Neil said, we have just been completely dominant. This is a team that, even when we're down by several runs, we're never actually out of it. I mean,
Yeah.
we spotted Vanderbilt a 10-piece in that semifinal game, and we actually cut the lead in half within a couple of innings. And if we would have had some more timely hitting, that game could have been interesting at the end. But I think the big key for this team, if they're going to make a deep run all the way to Omaha and even win a championship, the bullpen has got to be a little bit more consistent. This is a team that definitely has the ability to put double digits on the board every night, hitting the ball. But can they play defense? Can they pitch? Will the starters be consistent? And that was a strength of the 2017 team, where we had a really solid group. Guys like Fayedo, Singer, you had a Michael Byrne that could, throw the last 9 outs of a game. And that carried us all the way through and won us the national championship. And that team, we could hit the ball, but we were no near as elite as this team is in hitting. So I think the big key is making sure that if we're consistent, if we could keep teams under 5 runs a game, I don't see why anybody would be able to beat us.
And I think to speak to baseball and just in general, this is something I kind of speak about. My knowledge comes in a little bit to play here. Is I was going to mention that pitching is going to be the big key. When you get late into Omaha, you got guys that can crank it. Everyone at college at that point is hitting absolute dingers. I mean, those guys are stacked. So pitching is going to be a big factor. What people don't realize too, kind of just you're bypassing standard fan for baseball, is pitchers take a long time to develop. Even if they're dogs in college, they can go to the MLB and get absolutely roasted. It takes a long time to develop pitches, speed, consistency, all those things. So it could be very up and down. So they can look really good. The bats can be alive, but they can also give up 15 on the other side of the ball very quickly, just due to, again, that youth in pitching is definitely always going to be a factor. So love that you hear that, hey, notice that bullpen's going to be a big key. Once we obviously get past the regional round, it becomes a series game and not just it's double elimination. But winning one game that's brutal, man. Any team, especially with baseball, it's not like football. You got guys that if you got a team that can play baseball, you can upset someone pretty easily. It's kind of like basketball, like March Madness. It doesn't take much to get on a roll, especially in one game. That's what series are so important. I feel like a series is how best teams win. I've always hated the wild card. You love it, you hate it at the same time, depending on what side you're on. In baseball, because sometimes the best team doesn't necessarily win. They got it past you there, but they're not going to go any further because they're not built to win a series, and that's how baseball is. It's all about on series. So I'm glad that obviously the wild card has changed that, but yeah, Florida can't get kicked off this regional round here once again, but it should be exciting. I agree with you, Neil. Omaha or bust. I would love to see a big run here. Even though golf is on the verge of winning a national championship, it doesn't have the hype and the excitement as if baseball were to get that ball rolling. Where Florida football and basketball is headed, we could be on the upturn here, boys, on the upswing.
You gotta hope so. And that's the goal. I mean, that's always the goal of the Florida Gators, to always have every team compete for a championship. I mean, the UAA's very motto is championship experience with integrity. So, I mean, they don't hide from it. They don't make any bones about it. They don't sugarcoat it. They come right out and tell you, yeah, our goal is to compete for championships and win championships. So, I mean, I don't think I can remember a Gator baseball moment that I've been this excited for since that run in 15 through 18. I mean, there just hasn't been the sense of this Gator baseball program is this good. There hasn't been that feeling since that 17, 18 sort of back-to-back years there. I also think it's worth pointing out that Florida has a much more favorable draw this year, something I think maybe casual fans should take note of, because if you remember last year, Yeah, Florida was the host. They were the number 1 seed in the regional. They drew an Oklahoma team that was really good, wound up making it to the College World Series finals. Oklahoma got snubbed out of a regional host spot. They were ranked number 9 in the country, and everyone thought they should have been one of those top 16 seeds. The top 16 seeds get to play regionals at home. The top 8, if you win your regional, you're guaranteed to host in the super regional, the 2 out of 3 format, which would be next weekend. Florida doesn't have a team like Oklahoma coming to Gainesville this year. UConn is, they have a good record. They actually are ranked number 9, just like Oklahoma is, but the difference is they've played a strength of schedule that's below 80 in the country. They didn't play a single game against a top 15 team in the country this year. Their toughest opponent was actually a mediocre Boston College team all year. So I don't really think that UConn compares to what Oklahoma was last year. Then they certainly haven't been as tested as that Oklahoma team was last year. So I understand the skepticism from some Gator fans after that Vanderbilt game, saying, "Oh, here we go again. This is not going to go well." Typical, postseason meltdown. I've seen all the comments from Twitter users, but this year's team is hashtag built different. I know, Sheldon. I know you've used that phrase before. This team has something special about it. So buckle up and get ready for a fun ride.
I love it. We'll be here. We were at Rock and Roll. We'll definitely be keeping tabs on it. But the hype that's in the chat right now, we're all excited about it this weekend. Again, it's trending worldwide. Is Jubilee weekend. The noise for this weekend, it's been absolutely insane. I'm almost at a point where I've gotten to I'm nervous that it's not going to live up to this expectation that we created. I take full responsibility if it doesn't go the way that we're all anticipating, which we have no clue what to anticipate. But we're hearing it's going to be good. The quality that's going to be there, we're going to go to Dave for some stats just to kind of put a number to this weekend. I'm really good at painting a picture for exciting and making it sound good and using buzzwords. Dave comes in and simplifies it with numbers, okay? Numbers are very easy to point to and, okay, that makes sense. It's not just Shelton being an idiot. So it's exciting stuff. We got a lot to go over. Dave will go to you, and then we'll get Chris and Neil. We'll get your perspective on this weekend and kind of what you're hearing. But, Dave, give us the juice, big guy.
Yeah, I call it nerd numbers. If you're a law of averages guy, kind of like me, and go through all that other kind of stuff, then you'll like it. I broke down just about every position that's visiting, what the player average was, what the average player rating is of all the guys, and et cetera, et cetera. So we'll go down. Obviously, wide receiver Jeremiah Smith committed to Ohio State, 5-star player average of 99.86, the only wide receiver visiting that weekend. You got defensive linemen. You've got quite a bit of guys here. The average defensive lineman player average is 92.18. You got one guy, David Stone, visiting, 5-star guy in the top 1 to 150, top 101 to 150. LJ McCray, top 151 to 250. Dylan Evans, Texas A&M commit, top 251 to 300 plus. You got 3, DeAndre Robinson, Kendall Jackson, Jaden Jackson. At edge, you have 97.74. That's Jordan Ross, top 50 guy there. Athlete, Jonathan Eccles, Tennessee commit there, 95.25 in the top 50 to 100. Linebacker, Christopher Jones, got to watch out for this weekend here, 94.21 at cornerback, 93.19 Jalen Crawford, top 151 to 250. And offensive tackle, a spot that I wish Florida could pick it up here. Offensive tackle, offensive line here, 90.32. You got Ethan Callaway and Ari Williams. And you have 17 total visitors right now. 4 visitors committed to Florida, which is Lagway, Phil Same, Darius Hayes, Isaiah Williams. 13 total visitors uncommitted. 3 of the 13 visitors committed elsewhere. Total 5 stars visiting, not committed to Florida. 2 total 4 stars not committed to Florida visiting. 8 in total 3 stars not committed to Florida. 3. And the average player rating of all the recruits visiting, not committed to Florida or committed elsewhere, 93.37. So, yeah. Pretty good amount of talent coming. And if you don't count the Florida commits, which are ranked pretty high, I mean, that's a pretty high player average of kids that aren't committed or committed elsewhere visiting just this weekend.
A ton of top talent. Again, it's been the weekend that we've been talking about, preparing about, ready for a very long time. And look, this is going to be Billy's really first big, hey, can we get it done? Can we finally close a weekend out We've had a few misses over the last year that I know a lot of fans are still a little hesitant on. But this weekend, we've got to land a few. The shade's got to be on all weekend. The spacesuit's got to be on all weekend. We've got to be humping and hollering all weekend long. I'm hoping that we are live 2 or 3 times this weekend. That's got to be the ultimate goal because, we go live every time we get a commit. So make sure you guys turn the bell on because if we do get one, we'll be humping and screaming for sure. But, Chris, I want to get your thoughts on this weekend, man. How are you feeling about it, and what are you hearing?
I'm excited. I'm excited to see kind of where this has been building. Billy Napier has been methodically building this class ever since really when we got DJ Lagway to commit back in December. I said it at the time, that was the cornerstone to this class. We needed to get him first because he's been able to recruit and build these visit weekends up. I mean, you don't get 5-star talent like Jeremiah Smith to visit as many times as he has now without a DJ Lagway in your class. Guys like him didn't look at Florida in the last 10 years, and they're looking at Florida because we have a 5-star quarterback like him now committed. I think that, this is where we've got to start delivering, though. Last year we were so good at getting guys on campus multiple times. We had some pretty star-studded weekends, maybe nothing like this, but pretty darn close, and we didn't get them to commit. So we need to start seeing those commitments. And in June, I think is that time frame when we're going to start to see it pick up. July as well. I don't know if all of these guys obviously are going to commit, on the spot when they come to campus. I think a lot of these guys want to take their visits, especially now in the NIL era. They want to, feel everything out. But I wouldn't be shocked if we had 1, 2, maybe 3 guys pop this weekend. And I think all of y'all might have saw, Steve Wilfong put in the crystal ball for Chris Jones. A linebacker would be the 3rd linebacker in the class. I'm looking for him to definitely join, and he's bringing the whole family down from Virginia. And when you bring the whole family down, that's normally a sign that you're getting pretty serious about making a commitment, especially out of state.
Meet the parents, baby.
And exactly, and then of course there's Dylan Evans, Texas A&M commit right now, but he has a Florida Gator profile picture, and he's committed to another school, and he's had that profile picture for quite some time. And I think there's been a lot of rumblings that he's looking to potentially make the move and flip. And a lot of that is on DJ Lagway because it was the guy from Longview, Texas, and, building that relationship with DJ and the staff. So I'm pretty excited. I think, we'll have to see how everything goes, but all of these guys, even if a fraction of them commit, it's going to maintain that player rating of around 94 that we have right now on 247. If we're going to start to edge up into the top 5 on 247, we're already in the top 4 on 3 because on 3, as we all know, rates quality over quantity, and that's been the MO of this staff, is to take quality over quantity. So I'm excited. I'm ready for the fireworks to start flying on this Jubilee weekend.
Yeah, we're all fired up. I need to get some fireworks. It's a good call on that one. And this weekend, right now, the next few days, there's the Elite NIL camp, however you want to describe it, going on. A lot of big studded talent that is there currently right now. DJ Lagway being one of those studs that are there currently. A lot of noise being talked about. A lot of other recruits chirping. We've got some content later on talking about one of the commits that David mentioned, where he's not trending on 3 to go to Florida currently, but a lot of noise from the recruits at this camp are saying, yeah, this guy's looking at Florida. So love that DJ's able to be a part of this NIL camp or event. I don't know how to describe this, but being amongst all those people and all that talent, it's good for Florida. It's a good look for Florida, and a lot of potential Florida commits are at this camp as well too. So Neil?
Yeah, I mean, Chris went and mentioned, or Chris and Dave, I think, mentioned a lot of the guys that are coming. The ones that I'm really looking at are Dalen Evans, who with the Florida Gator profile picture, are you really committed to another school if you're going to have the Gator jersey and the helmet on? Chris Jones is one I'm really, really, really excited about. The one that I think it was just today, Chris, or was it yesterday that the crystal ball came in?
Today.
It was recent. It was today. Okay.
Yeah,
very, very recent. Guy's super, super productive as a sophomore in high school. I think he had 142 tackles or so, including, I think, 26 for loss, which, Virginia high school football, Fairfax, Virginia, that's, DC area is pretty good in terms of quality of football that you're going to get there. So for him to be that productive as a sophomore to me really speaks volumes. I'm high on Dalen Evans too. Obviously, guys like, Jeremiah Smith are going to be the big ones. Everyone's going to have their attention on. But I think if we get Chris Jones, that's one of those guys that I think, like every class or two, there comes, I think, a sort of logjam of guys who are maybe like mid 4 stars, low 4 stars, but one of them just bursts up and winds up being a stud for you, where you think, oh yeah, that guy was a nice win for us, but oh wow, he's like got All-American consideration. I'm not going to go ahead and predict that for him, but I think that he's got that kind of potential just because of the productivity that he's shown so early on as a sophomore in high school in Virginia. I do think that we're going to get a battle for him. I think he's going to visit Georgia 2 weeks from now. I think on the 16th, he's going to Athens to visit them. So that's going to be a battle. I know the crystal ball came in, but I mean, if we learn anything, it's never to count out Kirby Smart in Georgia when they really want a kid. And obviously, if he's going to visit them, they want him to at least some baseline degree. But that's one that I think if Florida gets, that one means a little bit more, because that's a head-to-head win over Georgia, or would be a head-to-head win over Georgia, and you're getting a kid who shows that he can produce very, very early on.
Love it.
That's the battle you got to start winning, though, right? You got to keep them
right.
from actually even leaving your campus without a commitment. You know, that was back in the days of Urban Meyer. What made him such an elite recruiter was the fact that he didn't let a guy leave without a commitment. And, you know, that's something I'm kind of hoping to start seeing from this staff a little bit more, is when you get the whole family on campus, when you get the player visiting multiple times, what more do you need to see? Why do you need to go anywhere else? Get them to commit on the spot, get them in the class. And if they want to take visits, it's going to happen, you know, but I think that it's harder to get a guy out of the class once he's in it.
There's so I've mentioned this a couple of times on the show frequently. I work in sales. And so closing them while they're there, right? It's like, hey, I need to think about it. I need to go what do you need to think about? I've got everything you need right here. You got to get them to close, because you give them that opportunity to go elsewhere. That person that gets them a second time, right, is going to close the door. So don't allow that other person to get an opportunity to close the door. You can't play the soft sale. The soft sale's not going to work, right? Like, oh no, let them think about it. They'll come back. That's an arrogant sale, in my opinion. If you think that you had that great of a conversation, you're questioning the other person out there. There's always a bigger fish out there. If you allow them to get to that part, more likely they're going to be gone. So, yeah, I agree. Get them to lock it in. Even if he does go and visit, right? If you get them to commit while they're there with you, it's even though it's as easy as decommitting, it's a little bit harder to break up with somebody when you've already said yes. So get them to say yeah. Get them to circle the yes on the will you go out with me page.
Yeah, and if you look at statistics, and I know Bill Sykes, he's one of my good buddies. He does a lot of the obvious research on all the commitments and all that. Like, you're less likely to flip or decommit somewhere once you're committed there. Now, it still happens. We see it all across college football. But once you have that commitment, it is really hard for you to either decommit or go elsewhere. You see it, but you don't see it a lot. So to get the kid to at least commit or something, especially with all the official visitors you got like 47 this whole month. You need to get somebody to commit, or that's just a failure. I mean, it's a complete failure if you don't get anybody to commit this whole month.
Well, I think it's pretty likely that Florida will get some commitments, but yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah.
Well, no, I was going to say, Dave, you remember Bill Sykes always talked about, or maybe it's Will Miles, but one of the two was saying how by August, basically where your player rating is kind of where it ends up being at the very end.
Yep.
So we're closing in on that time frame. This is when you got to start getting those commitments and building. I mean, we have a strong average, but we only have 8 committed right now. And you want to hopefully get that number closer to the 20 end and maintain that rating that we have.
That's something we've been prefacing this entire recruiting season. I mean, it's just kind of we're in the middle of it now, but we've been talking about it since January. Is we've got to be locked in come Friday Night Lights weekend, is my opinion, which was in July, and we moved it to June this year. And I was thinking about it this whole week, like, why the hell was this thing moved? And it could be a mentality of we're that much further ahead in our game plan than we were last year, than Billy was last year, right? Last year, we were playing a little bit of catch-up, trying to stay on top of things, and you don't want to overshoot it and not be prepared, right? You still want it to be successful. So everything was pushed back. Everything is now pushed forward because we don't want to go into August and September and be playing catch-up. You want to go into August and September with a healthy 20-plus commit class, close to, with a high average that can land those last little big dogs that are lying around. This past year were the likes of Q Rusall, Sampson, the kid that committed to Georgia, I can't think of his name at the moment, Pumbaa, those guys that are all kind of committed late, right? If we had a healthier class going into that, who knows? We may have landed them. I'm not saying we would have, but it would have helped. everything is now front heavy going into June, which allows for July and August to even make it even stronger if June goes the way that we keep anticipating, which is really exciting.
Yeah, and you got a
I
huge
also think
dead
that there's
period in
some.
July too. I was gonna say you got a huge dead period in July too, and a lot of these kids have already taken a whole bunch of visits. And after that dead period, I think you got like a week at the end of July, or maybe 3 or 4 days that you can host recruits or visits or whatever. And they've already taken their visits. Like they're ready to start their football season too. So
Yeah,
it's like
they're ready to be
it's kind
done.
of useless to wait till July. I know they moved Friday Night Lights, but like. It's kind of useless to even have.
Everyone just got out of school. Anyway. They're amped up. They're traveling around. They're at their most excited moment right now. Yeah, get it in while they're excited. We got a quick. Go ahead, Neil.
I mean, I was just going to say that was exactly what I was going to say. Most kids, or not most, but a good number of kids are going to say to themselves, you know what? I want to enjoy my last year of high school. I want to enjoy my senior year of football. I want to make my commitment July, August, maybe, and be done with it and just focus on football, focus on my prom, focus on one last year with my brothers in my high school football team's locker room, whatever, and then just not worry about it. And for a lot of kids, I think it's something that, that's why we're seeing so many commitments be done in the summer and even the springtime before they're actually supposed to commit.
And one last thing, and then we'll let you guys go. I appreciate it. We'll let you plug everything in just a minute. But there's a super chat here, and I want to end it with this for Jubilee weekend. From Between the Hedges, he says, UGA is doing the same thing. In June, 38 of 56 official visits in the next 3 weeks seems to be the trend. So they're later on in June, as is Florida State. Florida State's having a big weekend, I think, like in a week or two. So with that, I go to this. As we all know, typically when you go to a concert, the last concert is the headliner. Right? That's what everybody goes there for. So you kind of have your warm-ups. So right now, if you think about it, Florida is the warm-up. However, there is a man by the name of Jerry Lee Lewis who one time he was set to go first to perform for anybody else, which he was unhappy about. He had an ego, thought he was the man. But when he went first, put on an absolute show, played the Great Balls of Fire, and after he was done, lit the piano on fire and walked off stage. So Billy's got to have the mindset of Jerry Lee Lewis, play some Great Balls of Fire, light that bitch on fire, said, that's how it's done. That's what old Billy Ballsack's got to do. He's got to be the showstopper. He's got to set the tone and let him know.
He's got to be.
I'm the headliner. Okay? I'm the headliner. So Billy's got to do. So being first isn't always a negative thing if you do it the right way. So excited. But hey, guys, I really appreciate y'all.
Competition if you literally set on fire.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say there's no such thing as competition.
Yeah, there you go.
Literally set it on fire.
Hey, he's got no piano to play, then you got to worry about it.
Look at it.
Hey, but before we segue into the next segment, they did just add a couple visits today too. Liam Edwards, a really elite offensive lineman, was reported by Corey Bender. Top 100 guy visits June the 16th this weekend. We need offensive linemen, so I'm happy about that. Also added today was JUCO edge Quincy Ivory from Spring, Texas. He's visiting June the 9th.
Let's get it. Well, Neil and Chris, I really appreciate you guys hopping on here and giving us your thoughts and opinions and knowledge. Really appreciate it. Tell everyone where they can find you. And again, appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah, man. Really appreciate you having us on. We'll definitely return the favor with y'all not too far into the future. So you can catch our podcast, the In All Kinds of Weather Forecast, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Just launched a second YouTube channel for the podcast. Same name, In All Kinds of Weather Forecast. You can follow the podcast on Twitter at IAKOW Forecast. You can read what we have to say in written form at our website, inallkindsofweather.com. Chris, actually a fairly new addition to the website. He's been the podcast co-host for a good while now, but Chris is going to start putting out some more written content soon. So definitely stay tuned for that. A lot of baseball coverage, a lot of recruiting coverage coming. You can follow Chris on Twitter at Mr. Chris Bits. You can follow our brand's Twitter at All Kinds Weather, which I should say that's my Twitter. I should just stop hiding behind the brand. That's me. I run that account, but it represents both of our thoughts on there. At All Kinds Weather blog on Instagram, and on Facebook it's just In All Kinds of Weather. Y'all, great show you guys do. Definitely want to congratulate you two on linking up. I listened to Dave's show when he was going solo at getting swamped and listening to Shelton show before independently. Good to see good people team up and put together a great product. So happy for y'all. Can't wait to see you guys continue to tear it up, and we look forward to having you on our show in the not too distant future.
Love it, man. Appreciate the shout out as well.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate been on your show before too with Zach Goodall from SI. So man, I'm pretty pumped for that one, man.
It's gonna be a great one, man.
Yeah, go show these guys some love. Follow them. I just put it up there. Too Legit to Coach. Great guest. So absolutely, you guys were an absolute blast. Thank you again for coming on. I'm sure we'll have you guys on again. I think it was a great show. You guys be safe. Have a healthy and lively Jubilee weekend yourselves, and we'll be in touch, boys. Go Gators.
Go Gators.
Go Gators.
Go Gators.
See you, boys. Good stuff. And then we're going to add, of course, our next special guest here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just Holly. It's just Holly.
My goodness, kids. How are you? Hey, thanks a lot for all kinds of weather and those guys hopping on. We appreciate them having them on. I know you guys got a big recruiting weekend. Super insightful. We love them. We've talked about them a little bit here. We've watched their content as well. So tip of the cap to everybody out there making the hustle and making it work.
Love it. Love it. I see you guys in the comments trying to recruit some FSU people by becoming members. I love it. Harlan says, I'll become a member once there's a tad bit more FSU content. You have my word. Fair enough. We've got 2 segments tonight, big dog. So your wish is granted. We're getting better. Look, hey, if there's lack of FSU content, the only person you have to blame is Steve and Chad Hawley, because that's his. You see the hat that I'm wearing. But I am getting better at it. I think it's good to also know what your enemy is doing. So it's fun to talk about it. I actually have enjoyed talking about it, to be honest with you. It's fun because I think the more you know about it, the easier it is to poke and prod. But that's who we're going after. We talk about Georgia on here too. So we're looking to expand our tentacles, and we have a good time doing it. We got Georgia fans that come in here and hang out with us. So the more the merrier. But we got 175 people in here and only 44 likes. The math doesn't make sense to me. It's just like a little click. It's free.
And also if you're Florida State person, I mean, I said it last week, there's plenty of Miami slander on this channel.
There's tons. Yeah, I think that's the one thing that I think we'll never have like a. There's a few Miami fans that actually enjoy the show. Surprisingly, I can't say that there is.
I know.
So we already talked. We were kind of hinting at it a little bit with Neil and Chris about crystal balls. Gators getting crystal on here. We got 2 crystal balls. The Chris Jones, the linebacker, was the one. Zay Mincy, safety, is the other one that is getting a lot of noise. I don't think we got a confirmed crystal ball from Steve Wiltfong, so I don't want to misspeak here. But I think we're trending on 3. So it's an on 3 crystal ball, which they're different. They are different. I think Wiltfong has a little more of a pack to his punch when he puts it out there. That's for sure. And Harlan Harrison just became a member. I mean, look at that. It didn't take much, boys.
Hey, look at that.
He said, fuck
Harlan,
it.
Follow quick.
Let's go, baby. I love it, man. Welcome to the fan, big guy.
Welcome in, brother.
Way to earn your pigskin, big guy. Look at that. We're all becoming a family here, boys. We got FSU guys becoming members. I mean, hey, look at us.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Not me.
Oh, man. All right, so Chris Jones. So, when we start talking about crystal balls, I get excited. I start getting all, my fingers start tingling a little bit. My toes start crinkling up because I got to go to the calculator. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. I just have to. You guys get all freaked up about it, but I have to. So, look, I'm going to do a couple things because I know Dylan Evans from the Texas A&M, we were talking about him. We haven't got a crystal ball or anything like that, but there's a ton of noise behind him. We've talked about him, I think, for the last 3 weeks, okay? Chris Jones, behind the camera, Dave and I have talked about Chris Jones. So this one has been in the works, but it's been silent. Finally, it's now vocal. Zay Mincy, there has been a lot of want for him. I think Xavier feels to me the 5-star safety committing. There may have been some question marks there, but I think you guys had realized these safety/DBs, even though they have the list of a safety as a DB, and if you get a 5-star safety, like, oh, he's not going to commit now. These guys in high school, it's not, that position isn't as solidified as it is in college, if that makes sense. So these guys transition on that outside, that strong safety DB, a quarterback, right? They're kind of floating around out there. So we're going after more of that talent in that position. So I don't think Xavier is going to scare Zay Mincy, is what I was getting at. But Dave, I'm going to pass it to you before I get the calculator out. Kind of your thoughts on these 2 guys here.
Yeah,
look,
Chris Jones, I mean,
Crystal Ball D's nuts on
oh,
Hawley
did
for it.
you say Holly?
I love that it went quiet when
he set me up there for a second because old Dom. Shut up, Dom.
Golly, dude, Dom is such a treat, dude. Like I think Dom is like a mascot for this channel. Like he just says dumb shit and he gets picked on like by a ton of people, but he keeps coming back. It's unbelievable. He just said Cristobal these nuts on Holly's forehead. It's incredible. I love Dom. I said Dave, Steve, but go ahead, Dave.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say that we had on Chris and we had on Neil earlier, and they kind of went through Chris Jones' situation, bringing his family down there. I felt really good about Chris Jones for a long time. I kind of knew obviously he was going to visit during the June weekend and all of that, and just him bringing his family in the current situation, man. You got the Wilt Fong crystal ball behind the scenes. I've heard a lot of great things about it, and if you were to ask me, and I would pick him to commit to Florida this weekend, but that's just a prediction. That doesn't mean that it's definitely going to happen or anything, but I feel really good about him. Now, Zay Mincy's a guy, he obviously said he was a safety. He's a very universal guy. He can play cornerback too. So I think Corey Raymond likes him there at cornerback. So maybe that's kind of a position that he's been talking to him about. But he's heavily crystal balled to Florida, especially if you go to On3. I think they have it like 93% right now. Really good talent, though, man. If you watch his film, I kind of like how he can, spread the field. I mean, like he gets to the offensive person fast. Like his speed is really good. And that's what I like about Xavier Filsaime, too. He's got a lot of speed and elite speed there, too. So adding him, I think could happen also this month. Let's hope. But those two guys are they're two of the targets I'm kind of looking at. Obviously, the Dylan Evans thing with him in the Florida picture. And, they really did hit a home run on his first visit when he was at Florida. Now they got him back. So we'll see what happens with that. See if he kind of drags it out and still stays committed to A&M, or if he, maybe they can pull the trigger. Now, I know they've got other visits lined up, but if you can get somebody to pull the trigger sometimes, man, they cancel those visits and say, look, I'm committed, I'm done. And that's, as Chris said, that's what Urban Meyer was good at. You ain't leaving here without a commitment. And even if they do take the visit, they're still committed. So
yeah. And I did the calculator, did some work here, boys. Okay, right now we're at 176. We are ranked. This is 247. So like Chris also said, or Neil, I can't remember which one said it, but On3 looks, I think it was Chris. Chris. On3 looks at quality over quantity, as 247 kind of looks at both. And that's why we're ranked higher currently on3, because we have an average rating of 94, which is phenomenal, okay? So we had 8 commits. If we were to get the Evans, the Mincy's, and Christopher Jones, that's 3. That's 11 commits. That puts us tied with FSU, who's currently sitting at a 90 player average with a 192 overall score. With those additional 3 commits, that puts us at 222, which skyrockets us from 11 to 7th in front of Penn State and just behind Oregon, who has 14 commits with an average rating of 91. And all these guys have 93, 94, 94. So it's only going to make the average rating either probably say right around the same. So a ton of talent that's going to be slated there. Big guys, too, 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", all over 200 except Mincy. And these guys, again, the other 2 guys are linebackers and linemen, so you expect them to be a little bit juicier. And Mincy's 180 at a safety / quarterback like we were talking about. So, look, I know I'm getting ahead of myself. This is what we do. If you're new here, we like to get excited and look at what could be. So, trending to a very healthy class. And mind you, this is something we keep talking about. We haven't landed any top offensive linemen, which is scary, but we're going to stay optimistic here, which could lean into some things. We also are looking to hopefully land a few more wide receivers, possibly some edges in Colin Simmons, which we're going to get into a little bit later on. So I'll leave the calculator up when we get into those names, but exciting to see what's happening. Again, maybe we'll get more of a treat this weekend. Hopefully, we got to get a few, man. I keep saying it because we got to make it happen, though. We got to get it done, boys.
It will happen. It will happen.
Okay, it will. One of us.
just keep telling yourself that. Just do.
In the words of the Dave Meister, it will happen.
Let's go. We're gonna get it done. We'll get it done. Awesome stuff, boys. Let's move on to some recruiting talk for Florida Gators. Still, obviously, we're gonna talk about FSU, so everyone, nobody panic. Michael Maple says 194 in here and 70. Some of y'all haters. Show some love, boys. Drop a like. Show some love. Another super chat from Dom says, ha, left side of his nose isn't normal. I can't with this guy. All right, recruiting for the program.
Blown out septum. A lot of bad decisions.
recruiting for the program. So some big stuff happening, obviously, with some big names that we just mentioned, but some names that came up over this past week that are starting to stir up a little bit, which is exciting. Colin Simmons is one that DJ Lagway, and this comes from an On3 article. It wasn't Corey Bender. I can't remember who. I think it was Keith who wrote this article. Make sure we show them some credit here. He mentioned that Colin Simmons, who's not being favored, it looks like it's an LSU, I think, in Texas battle. But DJ said, hey, Colin might be a Florida guy. Like, don't sleep on that just yet. So the article was a dark horse of, hey, a possibility. Colin Simmons was there for the spring game. He was there when Xavier committed. They have their photo of the 3 of the 5 stars hanging out. Colin Simmons is one that we felt good for a long time, and then obviously him visiting LSU, and I think it's Texas. That noise kind of took things over a little bit, and so it's been quiet. And it's been quiet on our end, but this kind of makes everything resurge back again. If DJ's out there hustling, it's just not as vocal as some of the other recruits are. Dave?
Yeah, and DJ's got a don't give up attitude and a take care of business attitude, and that's what I like about DJ Lagway. And of course, he's an elite quarterback, so he's going to attract elite talent anyway by anything that he says or does or where he's at. So I do like the fact that he does speak up. And I'll take a quote from the On3 NIL Elite Series that they were at just, I guess, this past day, or actually they're probably still there now. But he says the University of Florida, honestly, the atmosphere, the fans, the people there, it's just DJ Lagway wasn't lying when he told me that the fan base is crazy. Like, they love the athletes. It's just, I loved it. I love being around people that show love to athletes. It means that you care. And they asked him a question. They said, does it hit a little different when you hear it from a guy like DJ Lagway, who is also from Texas and making a move to the state of Florida? He says, oh, yeah, for sure. That speaks a lot. So right now, it is a Texas-LSU battle. I think LSU's trending right now, but at the same time, it's so early. I think he wants to take his commitment out to December, from what I've heard. So, hey, keep beating the drum. Keep chipping away. You never know what's going to happen.
Love it, love it, love it. Good stuff. The article was by Corey Bender, actually, so it wasn't by the guys I said. Another big one is LJ McCray is another big guy that is getting some love for us, which, again, is exciting. A name that we hadn't heard before. I believe he's an edge. Is that correct, Dave?
Yeah, visits June 2nd, which is this weekend. So, yes.
So, I remember when you mentioned his name about him visiting. Again, he's somebody that will be there. This will be his 5th trip. He's 6'6", 260 pounds. Again, this is another great article by Corey Bender. I think he's also the Seminoles are in on him as well. Steve, have you heard this name before?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's set up to come in on the 23rd, as a matter of fact.
Okay. I don't think it's an official. It's just a visit, though, currently, right?
No, he set up for an official for us. 4-star out of Miami.
Straighter than a circle.
If I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so the Seminoles are not receiving an official visit until October. So this might just be a visit. But they have a lot of interest. There's a lot of comfort in Tallahassee. So, look, I love a good old-fashioned Sunshine State showdown. We had a few last year, not many, but it feels like, and we're going to get into it a little bit later on with FSU, it feels like that's going to heat up more this year than it has in a very long time, which is good. I think it's good for football. We've always talked about Miami and Florida State being good. It's good just for football. It's good for Florida. We enjoy it. As much as I hate that you guys are having success, it's fun. It makes this more exciting for all of us. So we'll love a big pickup on LJ McCray. Another name which was strange that I heard or I read this week was Ryan Wingo, wide receiver, 5-star guy, currently committed to Tennessee. Been a lot of talk about him going to Georgia because of the Dylan Raiola situation. I know he's visited Colorado one time, had a lot of great things to say about that. It feels like these wide receivers are making their rounds, but mind you, DJ Lagway, Dylan Raiola, Aaron Nolan at Ohio State, Tennessee, I don't think they have a big-time 2024 quarterback commit. I could be wrong. I'm sure
Ryan Wingo's not committed.
I know, but he was been heavily favored for Tennessee this entire time. He's not committed, but Tennessee has been high on his list. It's kind of what I was getting at. Sorry, but yes, thank you for clarifying that. But so I read that name and I'm like, we haven't heard that name at all. But it looks like, look, Billy, they're out there just slinging it, boys, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, Ryan Wingo's kind of a Tennessee, Georgia guy. I mean, he has visits lined up for Georgia this weekend, Texas, Missouri, Michigan. I mean, anything can happen in recruiting, but I don't know. I think Florida's kind of far and away from this one, to be honest. But,
Sure.
as I said, man, it's what May, almost June. You just don't know how recruiting is going to go. But I'm not going to sit here and say that Florida is going to necessarily pick up his commitment and overshadow Georgia or Tennessee right now, just based on how it's going. So right now, if you're a Florida fan, I really wouldn't be looking at that name. But as I said, it's recruiting. You never know. So.
Absolutely. And the last name we got is Jordan Ross. So this was one by Keith. This is, and I mentioned this in the Jubilee weekend, is there's a lot of noise from other recruits about certain players and where they're going. Jordan Ross was a name that was popping up, according to this article by Keith here from On3, of somebody who could be looking at Florida. We're not on the On3 prediction. We're not at the top right now. I think it's Georgia, I believe, or it might be Alabama. It is Georgia, Tennessee, then Florida right now. But apparently there's a lot of noise stirring around that he could be Florida could be moving up in the ranks in his projections. He's a 6'4" edge, 215 pounds out of Alabama. So, again, D-line is something that we could use some help on. A 96 average, that'd be a nice, healthy addition to the line. I don't feel like there's a lot of big edge players that we missed out on last year, and I would like to land a few. I know Rusal was one of those guys, so I would love to possibly land one of them for sure.
Do we land Jordan Ross or Jordan Seaton?
I'll read that in a minute. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Okay. Yeah, he's pretty interesting. Jordan Ross is an interesting prospect. I mean, he has us in his top 8 that he had just released. He'll be here this weekend as well. He has visits lined up with Georgia, then Texas, then Tennessee. And he's an Alabama guy. And we've had pretty good luck with Alabama guys. I mean, you go back to the Kelby Collins thing. You go back to a lot of these Alabama guys that have come
I want to say he's rooming with Kelby Collins this week is what I read as well, too.
I mean, yeah. Kelby's an Alabama guy, too. And on his first visit, which he quoted, he said, it's a big city there, and everything is really close together. I really like the rooms the players have to live in. They were better than most colleges I've ever seen. So he likes the rooms. He says they're better than some of the, other amenities than all the other colleges that they had. And he liked the academics and such, but right now, I think Florida's in it with everybody else. I mean, it's not going to be one of those where, like, oh, my God, Florida took the lead in his recruitment or anything. But having a visit this weekend, I mean, especially DJ Lagway and the 3 other guys that's going to be there with him already committed to Florida, you can really make up some ground. So I'm really interested to see what happens with Jordan Ross and his interest moving forward after this weekend.
Love it. And a perfect timing, Harrison, on your super chat. He said, do we land Jordan Ross or Jordan Seaton? Right in the middle of when we were talking about Jordan Ross. So hopefully
can we land both?
Yeah. What has to be one or the other, Harrison? Okay. The question should be when will we land Jordan Ross and Jordan Seaton? That's how it should go down.
Yeah, when. Not if.
Good stuff there. I hope you guys enjoyed that content. If you did, make sure you guys drop a like. Let's get into Billy Napier. This isn't just Billy. This was everybody this weekend. Talking about tampering. What's funny is Steve and I talked about it last week. Steve was already on the ball. It looks like they watched the podcast. I feel like we're breaking news left and right here. Steve talked about coaches tampering last week. He threw the names out there: Norvell, Dion, what's the guy at Ole Miss? Lane Kiffin. What's the guy out there at USC? Lincoln Riley. So all these guys possibly being tossed around. Dave even said Billy. He's like, look, you have to be. You're going to be. All these guys basically came together this week and hanging out. Everyone's like, yeah, the tampering thing needs to stop. Basically, it's like they all got in the room. It's like, y'all been cheating too? Yeah, we've been cheating. Like, they're all in like, hey, look at us, huh? Who would have thought? The fact that everybody's in agreement that everyone's in agreement.
Spider-Man gift where they're pointing at each other.
Yeah. Hey, you. And it's like, hey, how'd you pull that shit off? It's like, oh, that's a good one. So it's like they're all cheating together.
I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, damn it. So I feel like, everyone's on the same page. Everyone's kind of like, they're in agreement that something needs to change. I want to say it was Hugh Freeze, Auburn head coach, said, look, he goes, I think it needs to go back. We need to get rid of the transfer portal. But then followed it up with saying, like, that's not going to happen. But I feel that it needs to go back to the way that it was, that if you sit out or if you transfer, you have to sit out for a year, right? That was kind of his notion towards it. And I think we've mentioned that a few times. Like, that's a possibility that it could go back to that. It definitely needs to have some sort of governor put on this thing because it's getting out of control. And for the fact that these guys can all sit at a table and have an agreement of like, yeah, we probably are, bend the rules a little bit. But the problem is like one person bends it. It's like, well, he's getting away with it. I got to bend it. And then you just kind of get it rolling and there's no line anymore. I mean, you're just swimming in nonsense and nobody's really cheating because everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
It's not cheating if it's the process, right? If it's the process and, it's just about who can be more creative, who can maybe throw more money at the problem, or who can, maybe even just find a new and an interesting way to get your name into one of these kids' head. And look, the other thing to keep in mind is all you got to do is find one kid that's willing to communicate with you. Kind of going back to just you guys were mentioning the dorms and things like that. These guys hang out. They live together. They go to class together. They go to practice together. They're in the locker room together. All you need to do is to get into one of these kids' ears. And even if every other kid on that team is a brick wall, it only takes one to get in and just kind of start passing that information around, or maybe even having conversations about what he's hearing for himself. And then you got other players looking at it like, well, I'm better than that guy. I got to be able to make it. It only takes one kid to be in the mix of all of this that will just spread like wildfire throughout an entire team. And it's not anything that a coach can do, because you can't watch them all the time. You can't control where they are when they're not in football activities. I mean, the best you could do is make sure that they go to class and that they're getting their academics, but that just leaves them to their own devices to have more conversations about the tampering stuff that we're talking about now. So it's just the law of unintended consequences has taken full hold of the college football world. And at this point, all you can do is hold on, strap in, and just be a part of the ride, because we're on it.
One of the coaches even mentioned saying that the kids are just as guilty as we are being a part of the tampering. So the players are starting to get control of this as well too. Go ahead.
If I'm a head coach, I'm nudging one of the players, or maybe a couple players, or maybe 10 players, saying, "Hey, you know this guy? Hey, could you send him a text message for me? It's not tampering if you don't do it, right?"
True.
So you get somebody else to
dog eat dog world out there.
There you go.
Well, look, the other part of this, and I'll throw this out there, is, look, Florida State was heavy. We had too many scholarship players at the end of January, middle of February. It wasn't that long ago that FSU had too many scholarship players, and they still wanted to make some moves in the transfer portal, which just kind of opened and closed up. How do you think we had the ability to do that? I wouldn't doubt it. And I'll look, this may sound like a conspiracy theory, but I wouldn't doubt if you have coaches that contact other coaches saying, let's maybe see if they are a better fit for you and not so much here, because we need to process some guys out. And what could be a second or third string guy on FSU's roster could walk his ass down to Colorado and be a starter tomorrow. I'm not saying that's what happened. It just seems awful damn convenient that all these kids.
It seems all 5 of these guys committed to Colorado within 24 hours.
Colorado, but they were all friends. They all talked. They had all gone to high school together. And then it's
Steve's
like
taking shots here, boys. Buckle up, Steve.
It's fun, but I mean, look at it both ways. Sometimes you want to process some guys off your roster, and it's not as if these coaches can't talk to.
Sure. No, I think. Look, hopefully, I mean,
I know a lot of Dan Mullen kids went to Nebraska.
Damn, boys. You guys are going to get us in trouble here.
Just saying.
Look, it's dirty. It's a dirty game. The last thing I want to say about it is I think other sports are honestly worse, doing it worse. And what I mean by that is if you look at LSU, like women's basketball, like they're out there recruiting. But they're putting a dream team together. We don't care as much because the emphasis on other sports outside of football isn't as looked at. So, like, it could happen. Everyone's like, okay, basketball, a ton of people are moving around in basketball like it's going crazy. Florida's done a great job in basketball. So these other sports that aren't, is just highly talked about are kind of just moving through the wind, doing whatever, taking full advantage of it. It seems like I could be wrong here, again, because I'm just looking at it from an outside, but, like, thinking about it now, it's like, dang, they're out there working it hard. We're just not talking about it as much because it's college football obviously reigns supreme over those other sports.
It seems like to me that the portal is more popular in basketball than it is football.
Yeah, because college basketball recruiting is a little different. I think. I mean, it's not as watched, but the whole basketball landscape is a lot different. I could go down a rabbit hole with how that is. I just think it's too much. I can't even get into it. But yeah, it seems to be a lot harder.
The college lifespan of a basketball player is much shorter, so they are more likely.
Well, you can also be really, really good. You can be really, really good at basketball and be at a really, really small school. There's just so much. It's hard to really go after and recruit. I mean, most schools are basketball schools, but not football schools. You know what I mean? So almost every school has a basketball school. It's easy to have a gym. It's not easy to have a football team. So there's a lot of talent that's just floating around in basketball. So they may have been a 2-star coming out, but they see them play now or they made the tournament. It's like, that guy's a dog. And March Madness allows for these lower-end schools to showcase their talent. And so, and other Virgo schools that see this talent, it's like, I want that kid. I can do a lot with that kid. And it's free recruiting for them at this point now. Football doesn't have that. Real quick, super chat from Blanco. Oh, go ahead, Dave. Sorry.
I was just going to say, at the end of the day, obviously Billy Napier and Norvell, they're in situations right now where they got to get rid of kids from either the last. I mean, Norvell had kids from, I guess, still from Willie Taggart. He probably had to get rid of. And then you have Billy Napier, having to get rid of some Mullen kids to get his guys in. So they're in the situations now. But once you can build that up after time, if you recruit elite, like through that whole process, then you're not having to really use the transfer portal that much. When just to put in pieces year 3, together. Year 4, and then you don't have to worry about any tampering. So
sure. Blanco says, super chat, he goes, you guys are great. Hope to see y'all one day at the Swamp. I'm getting all 3 of your signatures if possible. I would just get Dave's, honestly.
Don't get
I was employee of the month.
I actually never learned to write, so
I was employee of the month last month. So
I do have a good signature though. So if you want the autograph, I do have a pretty good signature.
Mine's shit, dude.
I mean, even when I got my mortgage, I just initialed everything, and those things made me like sign. I'm like, this is horrible.
I would definitely go to if we ever got popular enough, people actually wanted my autograph. I would definitely take a class on signatures to figure out if I get a cool signature. I feel like that's important. But I don't have to worry about that, so we're fine. SEC scheduling woes. So we've talked about this kind of in and off a little bit, but it seems the noise has settled down, and I've got a theory why. I talked about it on college football podcast with Hall of Fame college football podcast with Jason. Great guy, great show. Go check him out if you guys can. I was on a show Monday night, I believe. But the scheduling woes is originally what had been proposed, and it seemed like we were headed that direction. We kind of talked about it, a 9-conference SEC schedule, which would equate to 3 rival set games that you play every single year, 3 teams that you play every single year, and then 6 rotating games. The 3 teams that we were getting pegged with were Oklahoma, Georgia, and Tennessee, I believe. Could change, but that was kind of what was being projected. Alabama had their 3 that was projected. I think it was Auburn, Georgia, and Tennessee as well. I think
something like that, because I remember Saban complaining about the difficulty of the 3.
He bitched.
Did Georgia have like Vanderbilt, Arkansas?
I never saw what Georgia was, but probably. I mean, someone's got to get Vandy.
It was Florida, Kentucky, maybe
Kentucky, and probably Vandy was close second.
That sounds about right. Sounds about right.
No, I don't think so. There's no way, because it went off a tier and win percentage. Kentucky and Vandy definitely had been in a lower tier, so I don't think that would have happened. They would maybe got like an LSU or Texas A&M, I think, or Auburn. No, they got Auburn, I think. It doesn't matter. Anyways, we're getting off topic here. It seems that it has now gone to 8. It's the 9 conference is going on hold, and we're going back to 8, which means we're only going to get 1 consistent rival game, which it's going to be Florida, Georgia. So the Tennessee game is going to go away once a year. Kentucky's going to go away once a year, which is going to suck. My theory is, look, I think this was one of the consensus that all the SEC teams got together and decided on, is this is bullshit. That I have to play these 3 teams every year, and then we have to play 9 SEC teams, because it doesn't benefit any team in the SEC. We as fans want that. Yes, we love that. Why wouldn't we love that? But if you're an SEC coach, if you're an SEC chairman, or whatever you want to, whoever you are in the SEC, and you're looking at your pathway to get to the college football playoffs, the last thing you want to do is play 9 SEC games. You just don't. So I think these guys got around, and it's like, I don't care what the fans want. I don't give 2 shits about the 3 consistent rivalries. I was comparing it to an episode of Ted Lasso, where all the big heads got together. This one guy was trying to pitch of like, we should come together and create a new league, and it's an expensive league, and blah 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 blah. Basically screwing over your average fan. One person in general, she stood up and said, no, we can't do that, and saved the whole thing. Whatever. TV. This ain't TV, okay? They all came together and was like, hey, this shit sucks. We're going to beat the shit out of ourselves and, possibly eliminate ourselves of making it into the playoffs, because we're playing 9 games. And even though the Big 12 may be playing 9 games, or the Pac-12 be playing 9 games, you know, I know, and your sister know, the shit ain't the same. Steve?
Yeah.
Or go ahead,
Oh,
Dave.
yeah, go ahead. I was going to say, you got to go back and look at Florida's 2020 season. I mean, they had an easy schedule lined up. I mean, their schedule was way easier before COVID happened, and then they had to play an all-SEC schedule. They wind up going 8-4. Obviously, their defense wasn't the best, and minus a shoe throw, you're not in that playoff, or you don't have a chance for the playoff. And of course, they gave, they defeated Georgia. They gave Alabama a run for their money in the SEC championship. But man, just playing a whole SEC schedule is just brutal. I mean, if Florida would have had a cupcake, like I think we had 2 cupcakes on that schedule on top of all the other opponents that we had. I think Florida's record would have been a hell of a lot better than 8-4, or I don't think they would have lost 3 games during the regular season. I think they probably would have went to the SEC championship, and even if they had lost that in a close game, they could have possibly been still in the playoff. But
hey, real quick, Two Logistics, don't be a pussy, Sheldon. I'm not. This ain't me being a pussy. I'm not the one sitting at the table pulling out of it. I want the 9 games. I have been an advocate that I want us to play an SEC game. Like, I like dogfights week in and week out. That's what I want. I want to play all SECs. I hate the McNeese State games. They're great. I think there's beneficial because we don't have a preseason, so I think there's some pros to it. But I'm not a fan of it. Like, I think the system needs to get fixed. So, because right now there is no reason to play 9 SEC schedules. It does no favors for the SEC. The 8th schedule SEC already carries enough weight to get you into a playoff or to, catapult you over a 1-loss Pac-12 team. We all know that already. So there's no benefit to the team. You're running a business. This isn't from a fanatic standpoint. If I am a coach, if I'm on the board of Florida, there's no reason why we put ourselves through that game. Maybe there's more money involved, but SEC teams have done a great job that people are going to show up to watch regardless who they're playing. That's just a fact. So there's no benefit in doing that. Sorry, Steve, you cut you up. You're coming at me, bro. When I'm just like, damn.
He's mad about not being able to play like Austin
Peay
and Towson and all those other opponents.
Yeah, look, I mean, they're boring. They're boring for the fan, but they're great for the team. And if you're an athletic director or a head coach, for that matter, they're critical, right? Because you got to have a warm up game. Sometimes you just need a non-bye week, to be completely honest with you, to rest some guys and to get them off the field, after maybe 12
I agree.
or 10 reps, or not at all.
I agree.
Those aren't just lay down games. And I know it feels like it when your team is up against a no-name directional school from you don't even know what state it's in, and it's a noon kickoff, and you're like, I don't want to do this, right? It feels bad from a fan standpoint. But those head coaches are looking at those games and they're balancing their schedule with them. Like, when can I get some gas? When can I get some, a breather for these guys? And it's not always bye weeks, right? So I understand where the fan side of it is coming from, but you're gonna blow your team out trying to play an NFL schedule, and that's essentially what you're asking them to do at 9 games.
Look, it's okay.
I don't see where the benefit is long term.
It's okay if you do that. If it was just the SEC versus SEC, it's okay. The problem is, and why it's not beneficial, is because the other conferences they're not going through the same gauntlet, right? That's the problem. I agree with what you're saying. I don't agree with it. I like it to be more like the NFL, where each week is exciting, but you can't. There's no reason to do that. Because again, you got the Pac-12 that's going to be, it may not even be alive here soon. We're going to talk about that. But look, the Big 12 is going to get stronger, but it's still not going to be to the same caliber. And the Big 10 does a great job of marketing and making it feel like, oh, we're the Big 10, we're great. All you have is Ohio State and Michigan, and that's proven not to be much over the last 3 years either. So what do you really have in the Big 10? Because after that, it's complete fall off. And don't Steve, I already see it. It's coming out of your mouth. Don't say Penn State. Shut the hell up. Don't even start. Don't even start.
They're inconsistent.
Don't even start. Great topic. Great discussion there. One more point to win for golf. I appreciate you guys updating me. I genuinely do. Like, it means a lot. Thank you guys that we're closing in. So I'm glad. I love to see your guys' your thoughts and opinions on this as well. Keep it going in the comments. It's good to see nobody's arguing tonight. There's a nice, healthy debate going on, a nice, healthy discussion. We can be adults here. This is fantastic. Like, we're growing, guys. Patrick, Kate, come here. Okay? Let's see you guys in the chat. Much love. But hey, one last thing. We need 6 likes until we get to 100. Somebody gave us a dislike. Not quite sure who it was. Probably was Uncle Lou. Doesn't really matter. But you guys go ahead and reverse that dislike and show some love. Moving on. We've got a lot of topics, so don't go anywhere. We got a lot to go over still. A lot of good stuff. Gators must-win game. We're going to get into that FSU must-win game. And yes, Harlan, if you're still here, we're going to get into FSU talk. But first thing first, we got Pac-12 no more. Somebody was upset we didn't talk about Pac-12 last week. So here you are, guys. Here's your gift, if that one person's in here. There has been discussions that teams like Arizona State, Arizona, Colorado has been in big discussions on the possibility of moving to the Big 12. Gonzaga, which is not a football school, but a basketball school, was talking about moving to the Big 12. The Big 12 is a pretty healthy basketball school. You got Houston's great at basketball. Baylor's good at basketball. Gonzaga, if they add, are great at basketball. Arizona is really good at basketball, right? They're a reputable blue chip basketball team. So you add that. They may not add that strength to the football schedule, but they will be a contender for the basketball, which will be able to carry the weight that lacks in football, which it may end up translating later on. So again, these teams are obviously getting better and better at football, but this could be the end of the Pac-12 here. Probably it could be this summer. I think Colorado, and Steve, I'm not taking credit. Steve reminded me of this. Colorado was a part of the Big 12 prior moving to the Pac-12. So this isn't new territory for them. 1, 2, by them going to they're at the point now where it's, if you're their stock, you got to buy the news. So they're at the highest point they're going to be. So if you're Colorado, you know that I got to go and get as much as I can right now because we're at our highest value. They could get more, right? But it's like Anthony going into the draft. You don't know what's on the other side of the wall. So take what you got when you can get it. And I think that's where Colorado and the schools like Arizona and Gonzaga is like, look, we've got an opportunity to jump before whatever ship sinks. Pac-12 sinking it seems to be like it's inevitable. Just depends on how long and when now. Steve, sorry I cut you off. I kind of took your thunder there, but go ahead.
No. We were talking about it a little bit off cast, right? I mean, this wouldn't be uncharted territory for Colorado. What's interesting to me about this dynamic, right, is that the Big 12 had 2 marquee teams, right? The 2 big teams for the Big 12 were Oklahoma and Texas. Clearly, they've moved on and they're going to the SEC. There are 2 big teams, essentially, for the Pac-12, which have historically been UCLA and USC. They are leaving to go to the Big Ten. What's interesting is both of those conferences had their flagship teams leave for another conference. And they were both kind of hanging in the balance on which conference were just how they were going to handle that type of a loss. Mm-hmm. And it looks like even though at first it felt like the Big 12 was teetering, they weren't going to be able to handle this. They were losing potential opportunities on getting their product on any type of a platform, media-wise, streaming, things like that. It looks like as time has gone on, the commissioner of the Big 12 has been able to stabilize and right the ship of the Big 12 better than what the Pac-12 has been able to do in that same scenario, because you're not really hearing about teams potentially bailing from the Big 12 now. What you're hearing is how the Big 12 is going to replace those flagship teams and what they can do in order to offset those losses. Whereas the Pac-12, you're hearing more about the potential exodus that could come in and how they may not be able to sustain themselves as a conference at all moving forward. So it's interesting to see how quickly the same scenario in 2 conferences and that dynamic kind of changed rapidly.
See, speaking bars out there, boys. Yeah, I think the Big 12 reacted much better than the Pac-12 did. They added UCF and one more fairly quickly after the departure of Oklahoma. And UCF is on the up and up. So it's a great addition for them to add UCF. That wasn't like a cupcake ad. That was UCF is becoming a real contender. And I think that was great for UCF to be able to go into a Power 5 and really show that, hey, we're a real threat. I think it's showing in their recruiting. I think they're doing a great job. So shout out to them. My little brother's a big fan of them. So good to see that they're doing well. But yeah, I think you nailed it on the head, Steve, where the Big 12 reacted much quicker than the Pac-12. And if you would have said, hey, who do you think is going to react? I would have said the Pac-12. I've always felt the Pac-12. But again, overall, the Big 12 is a much healthier brand in other sports. And I kind of forgot about that. Basketball, I mean, Pac-12 is not horrible, but the Big 12 has always had kind of reign supreme with other sports, in my opinion. I think there's a few that come from the Pac 12, but overall, Big 12 is a little bit healthier.
Yeah, I mean,
agreed. Well, I think we talk about it with the geographical location too. Like people just don't see it enough.
Well, Big 12 too, with this addition, if they add these guys, will be the only conference that has a team in all time zones. So kind of just a big blending pot. Yeah, Dave, sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say y'all pretty much made the points that I was probably going to talk about too.
Sorry.
So I was just saying, y'all make good points, and it sucks that it kind of affects like basketball and all other sports too. So it's like you're having to figure everything out.
There's a lot of moving pieces that we just think selfishly at football. Yeah,
it's a mess.
Good stuff. Glad to see you guys are in there chit-chatting right now. Look, Uncle Lou, I kind of took a jab there, but we love Uncle Lou here. Guy's an incredible.
We do.
Guy's an absolute beast, boys. I know you guys get all worked up about it.
He didn't reply to my tweet.
Well, you be trolling.
He knew he was.
You be trolling. I honestly, to be fair, I've talked to Uncle Lou. I don't think he knows how to use Twitter. Like he's like touch and go on Twitter. Okay, Uncle, give the guy a break. He's just getting warmed up to YouTube.
Silence is golden.
Make sure you guys drop a like. We just broke 100 likes, so I love it. Appreciate you guys. You guys rock and roll. We got 175 in here. We're an hour strong, humping and moving. I love it. And we got a lot. We got our listeners have been growing through Spotify and iTunes. So shout out to you guys that are listening right now. Much love and appreciation. If you're on the road or wherever you're headed, because I know you guys can't see us, but we're blowing you kisses right now. Elite 11 competition. That's coming up here June 16th. Some dogs in this class. What's the most exciting thing about this class is obviously you hear about it, you talk about it. I made the comparison. I'm going to give myself a pat on the back. I thought it was pretty good. This is basically the NFL Combine for these quarterbacks and for us to get to see everybody up against one another. You're not wearing pads. There's no pass rush, just like the NFL Combine. But you get to see DJ Lagway, Dylan Raiola, Luke Kromnick, or whatever his name is from FSU, Aaron Nolan from Ohio State. All in the same field together, all slinging it around. Get to see how they look side by side. Get to see how they look under the pressure, right? The playing field's the same here. So it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top. Right now, Dylan Raiola is far and away, according to, On 3 in 247, the number one recruit overall. So now we're going to get to see all four of them. Dave, I'm going to pass it to you on how they break down the scoring. You're not a fan of it, but I want you to at least go over that so I don't butcher it.
Yeah, so 50% of the scoring is broken down by junior season film alone. So you're walking in there already 50% up from everybody else if they just like your film or wherever you're ranked at, which I think is really dumb, but that's part of how they rank the P. The other part is based on the event evaluations and trades, and that's how basically the Elite 11's always been. I'm not a big fan of it because you could have a guy that comes in there and completely kills the Elite 11. I mean, just completely annihilates everybody, but, we didn't like his film that much, so he doesn't get MVP, he doesn't win the Elite 11, we're going to pick somebody else. So that's kind of why I don't like the Elite 11 and how they structure that whole thing. But, I mean, it is a cool event. I think every high school player that's invited to that event, obviously the quarterbacks, should attend that event anyway. I mean, it's a good experience. Obviously, you get in front of more analysts and scouts there too. And it's kind of easier to, I guess, in the 50% part of it, separate the men from the boys. I know when they do have the Elite 11, I don't really care who gets MVP, who wins it, just based on how the results are gathered up. I always go to one of my buddies, like Connor Clark, who's going to be there at SI. I always say, hey, how did Lagway do compared to everybody else? Did you think he was the best, or who do you think was the best? And I get my opinions from there, and then I just go from there.
And thankfully, Connor Clark, Hollywood, is one of our favorite guests. Maybe he'll do us a favor and hop on here and give us his full insight once he's back. I'll hit him up and try to schedule him because I'm sure he'll be highly touted after. We have a lot of busy shows coming up over the next few weeks with some pretty sweet guests coming on. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, but yeah, exciting stuff. And Steve, this is gonna be a good time for your quarterback at FSU to show out. Not much hype around him, but it's starting to build up a little bit. It's gonna be like kind of like the underdog gets to show his strut of stuff with the big dogs. How is he going to show up against them? And look, this is going to be huge, I think, for recruiting if you guys are able to pull some more 5-star studs.
Yeah, look, I mean, Croman Hook has been
Croman Hook. Look at this guy dialed in. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Croman Hook, man. That's our guy. That's our guy that we've stuck a feather in here for the future. look, I mean, he hasn't got the publicity that some of these other guys have had because he did shut his recruiting down so soon. A lot of these kids, some of the reason that their name just has so much traction is because we talk about them for dang near 2 years, right? If in somebody like a Croman Hook who has the talent, he's shown it on the field. His high school statistics have been consistent year over year, but he's also not been in the spotlight because his recruiting hasn't been. He hasn't been out there going to schools and doing these official visits and things like that, keeping everybody in bated breath. So, look, I think that there's so much talent at this camp that it would be difficult for Croman Hook to go out there and just really excel and exceed and just blow the doors off of this thing. But I think when you put him, apples to apples with some of these other top 4, top 5 quarterbacks that are out there, you'll see that from a talent standpoint, from a mechanics standpoint, and just overall arm strength, the kid's got it. And look, Norvell has turned, guys like Brady White at Memphis into high-level NCAA quarterbacks. So I don't doubt that he could develop a Croman Hook. I mean, look what he's done with Jordan Travis. Jordan Travis was a wide receiver commit that ended up flipping to quarterback at Louisville, never saw the field, and this is where he is now. I mean, I credit a lot of that to Norvell and the position he's
9-3, bro.
So we'll see what Croman Hook's able to do when he's got kind of a level.
You're not going to give any
field.
props to Willie Taggart, man?
I was all Willie.
I don't know if I could ever, in for the core of me, ever give Willie Taggart props for anything, ever.
Stop it.
Do something.
God, do anything. Do anything. Not do something. Just do fucking anything.
Luke Croman Hook, he started out almost in like the top 400. He's almost in the top 100 now. So obviously,
dang, we're moving, boys.
Yeah, he's moving on up there. So I mean, this is a good event for him to even just attend and even prove it. And he might even be better than some of the guys ranked ahead of him. I mean, you just don't know. So it's a really good event. That's why I say every kid should at least attend the event, no matter whether they do 50% by film and by the event, because you can still prove yourself to other scouts, even if you don't win the competition. How did he perform against all the other quarterbacks? So that's just even more exposure for you later on.
Yeah, that's what's exciting about it is, look, I mean, you've got some of these guys that we all know, right? We all know Dylan Raiola. We all know Julian Sayin. We all know Lagway, right?
I haven't heard much about Julian, to be fair, but go ahead.
Well, fair enough. But then there's also some guys out there, and Shelton and I were talking about this, Dave, right when you were hopping on coming into the cast. There's another guy out there who looked awful familiar when I was going over their quarterback profiles, a guy named Isaac Wilson. And I'm like, wow, this kid looks really familiar. I feel like I've seen him somewhere before. And that's because his brother, Zach Wilson, is a spitting image of him, and he is in the NFL. Like, but there's who would have ever known that Isaac Wilson was a 4-star quarterback who's committed to Utah and is in the Elite 11, and we'll get to see how he kind of matches up. So that's the exciting part of this is some of these kids that are 3 stars are going to be out there flinging the ball, 2 feet away from Dylan Raiola, and you'll be able to see, what's the difference between a Dylan Raiola and a Lagway versus some of these other kids.
This class last year, Jackson Arnold, who's a OU commit, I think he's going to be really good, that kid. He showed out. He won MVP. He showed out during that camp. Dante Moore is another one. Dante Moore is a dog, bro. At the Under Armour game,
yeah, he's
good. Buddy's good, dude. Like, you could tell a difference. Jaden Rashada played in that game. I felt like he was obviously behind, but Jackson Arnold and Dante Moore really just stood out from everybody else. It was really, and DJ's committed to that game as well, so that's way down the line. But moving on, we got to segue into from Tally Talk. FSU and Jeremiah Smith. So Norvell said this about Jeremiah. He says, you're going to be a program changer. We need guys like you at Florida State to get the program back to where it used to be. Looks like y'all doing a little flirting going on down there in old Florida State. Putting your dog for Jeremiah Smith. Look, if I had to put it right now with Jeremiah Smith, Ohio State 100% leads the way. I think Florida's coming in a close second. But I think you guys could be fighting a little bit with Georgia for that 3rd spot. I think Dylan Raiola is giving them an edge. But look, Norvell's starting to get a little BDE going, a little big dick energy about himself.
He really is. It's a strange confidence coming out of that little guy. It's amazing.
What's your thought?
We're definitely batting our eyes at the kid. We'll say that.
You think FSU gets it done? You think it's a real chance? You think he's just kind of shooting his shot here?
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, FSU would be crazy not to have some kind of open dialogue with the kid, especially if it's, if there is a little bit of back and forth. Do I think that Jeremiah Smith is serious? No, absolutely not. If that was the case, I mean, it's just very, very late in the game for a school to be kind of tossing their hat in the ring. And I think the only reason that Georgia is able to even get some traction right now is because of the Dylan Raiola thing. Now, good, you never stop recruiting these kids, and we've talked about that a couple of times when, Cam Davis was down in Gainesville. You continue to recruit them because what the hell's the worst that could happen? You don't get them, which you didn't have them, or you surprise yourself and you do. But again, you just don't feel like this late in the game that there's going to be a team that really emerges as a front runner for somebody at that high level. And I don't believe that we've been recruiting him heavily enough to be considered up to now.
What I would love to see is he decommits from Ohio State. He goes, I'm down to 2. And it's Florida State. My goodness. This kid wants to get the ball rolling, dude. Oh, you decommit from old blow Ohio State and let it be a showdown.
You got to defeat that relationship he's got with Lagway right now. But I will say, I mean, you got to go after him. He's from Florida. I mean, I would suppose that Miami's probably pitched something to him too, but they haven't been able to pitch anything in a while because they haven't even taken a guy that's in the top 150 except for one guy. So, I mean, but you still want to go after him. Being from Florida, it's the 5-star guy, the number 1 wide receiver in the class. There's going to be so many people coming after him. Hold on, I'll wait till that thing.
Yeah, I thought I tried to shut that thing off. I turned it off yesterday.
But no. There's going to be so many people coming after him anyway. You might as well. But as you said, Shell, it's Ohio State first because he's committed there, obviously. But I think Florida's the second school right now, and I think Georgia's right behind Florida, and then of course anybody else. That's just how it is. I mean, I don't know what kind of relationship he's got with Luke. I'm not sure he does. But you hear the relationship of DJ Lagway and Jeremiah Smith more than you hear of him and Dylan Raiola or Luke. So I would have to pick Florida second in that battle. But that doesn't mean he's even going to leave Ohio State. You never know. But you always, like I said, you want to keep chipping away because you just never know. Away. So that's what these schools are doing.
He needs to close his weekend. Real quick, though, I love the fact that we're all on FSU content right now, and Aaron hits us with the Golf Daddy achieved. After we just beat FSU at golf yesterday, like you can't write this shit. We're like the NBA, just scripting everything. Like this is like WWE shit. You know what I'm saying? Like somebody clicked on here, an FSU guy, like watch. Oh, it's great content. Bam, in your face. Go Gators. I love it though. Hell yeah, boys. Little golf natty, baseball natty is loading.
That out.
And we're moving. Harlan has a tweet though. Super chat. $10. Florida State guy says this is what was reading. Greg S. stated yesterday, criteria for future teams joining SEC. Same footprint, little travel, sorry UM. Committed to football, sorry UM. And TV ratings, sorry UM. Seems a lot like FSU Clemson. No? Question mark?
Yeah.
Hell of a sentence there, bro. Cheesing me out.
I mean, it really was. Especially the sorry UM part. I mean, this really just kind of hits the nail on the head over and over again.
So basically the criteria for future teams visiting are got to be close, right, to just kind of everyone that's around you, which is Clemson and FSU because, I mean, FSU to go to Alabama, A&M. Well, A&M's a little bit, but that's closer than Florida. Georgia, they're right there. They're right there. As for Clemson's by Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee. Florida's not that far from them, to be honest with you, in comparison to like a Texas or a Texas A&M or an OU. So all those Clemson's closer than OU and Texas A&M and Missouri. So yeah, they're right in the middle of it. I don't see it happening. I've read too many things and have gone and listened to too many podcasts on this not happening. I could be wrong. I just don't see it. Clemson maybe. FSU on the possibility of joining the SEC doesn't seem likely. I don't think it happened, but I'm sorry, Steve.
I mean, that's fine. We would end up in the Big Ten as long as we get paid.
I think it's the Big Ten. I think the home for Clemson we could pull Clemson. I just don't see FSU. But Clemson may not either. I think both those seem to go to the Big Ten, honestly. I really do. But I could be wrong. Moving on. Is Tally back on the map? We talked about it a little bit last week. The noise keeps it going. We're going to pass it back over to Steve here for the recruiting in regards to FSU and what they're doing over there in Tally. Again, I don't mind it. I think it's good for football as long as they're not taking our guys, but it seems to be coming down there. There's a couple dogs that we're going back and forth with.
Couple of head-to-heads. Yeah, look, it's going to be a very, very busy June for official visitors. FSU is hosting I want to say 6 prospects this weekend alone, but overall for this month, we've got over 30 prospects on official visits. Obviously, just this weekend coming in, we've got Wardell Mack, who is a corner out of Louisiana. Look, it's difficult to get kids out of Louisiana with LSU floating around, so that doesn't feel like it's got a lot of traction to it. But look, he's a 4-star kid. I believe he's visiting Florida later this month. It's kind of flip flopping things around. We're backloaded on June, as you guys are a little bit more on the front side of the month. But a couple of big star guys, all 4-star prospects, all coming in this week. It looks promising for the week after. Moving into the 16th, this is where I believe that we're going to walk away with one of the biggest commitments that we'll have all year long. Charles Lester III, 5-star, consensus 5-star corner.
Putting it out there, boys.
Yep, he's been the worst silent commitment for Florida State for the last couple of months. It's been a horribly kept secret. But he's going to be on campus for his official visit. Probably his 14th visit in the last year, but his official visit is on June 16th. He's going to be on his official visit along with BJ Gibson, who is already a wide receiver, hard commitment for Florida State. They're also going to have Ricky Knight, who is a surging 3-star cornerback. That looks like it may be somebody that Miami can snag. But for right now, if I had to say what Florida State's going to walk into our big recruiting weekend at the end of this month, what are we going to walk away with? I would say over these next 2 weeks, we should be able to have Charles Lester as a true commitment, a 5-star kid with a consensus ranking. It looks like over 90, 95, 96 points on 3 alone. Look, the Jeremiah Smith is coming in on the 19th. I'm not even going to put a lot of stock into it. It's a 2-day visit. He comes in on a Monday, if I'm not mistaken. So again, I'm not gonna hang my hat on that one. But look, June 23rd, huge weekend for FSU. We have got 13 4-star kids coming in, along with Landon Thomas, who is the 5-star tight end committed to Florida State. The kid who flipped from us to Georgia, and he did the rare thing that Soder said almost never happens, and he's right. We got the flip back. So Landon Thomas will be on campus on the 23rd, along with some big time kids that Florida State desperately needs. We do not have a very strong trench class right now on the offensive and defensive lines. However, we do have Jonathan Daniels, 4-star offensive tackle out of Florida. Looks like he's about 90 to 95% Florida State. That will be his official visit. Jason Zamandela, another offensive tackle, big kid, 4-star, rated over 94 on 3. He's about 96%. They haven't put an RPM or a crystal ball or whatever term what these guys are using, but they haven't gone as far as to say that, but it looks very, very good. Dylan Stevenson, I think we talked about him just a little bit, edge kid out of Miami. He'll be on campus on the 23rd. Mekhi Danzy is a guy that is an athlete. He looks like he could play likely the corner position. He could play safety. It's down to Florida State in Florida. It's the head-to-head battle for us. He's out of the state of Florida, but he is from Tallahassee. I haven't heard you guys talk about him very often, and I'm surprised that his name hasn't come up more, because he's been very much engaged with Florida as much as he has with FSU. I don't know if maybe there's just not a lot of traction with whether they think Florida's going to get him, so he doesn't come up. But that would be another big time athlete for us to put likely in the secondary. The big recruit that we would love to see come out of the 23rd is, I'm going to butcher this kid's name, Manasseh Eteti, out of California. He's an offensive tackle, 4-star, plays a very, very, very strong level of competition out there. 6'5", 294 pounds. And that's high school size. That's not what you do when you get to this next level in their weight and meal program. So look, the 23rd is a huge weekend for us. Those kids, the majority of them are all very, very well weighted towards FSU. So to be able to kind of, like you guys mentioned, close strong, that would be a great weekend for us to do it. If we can walk out of that weekend going in with Charles Lester under our belt, and then come out of there with 2 or 3 of these big offensive tackles, potentially even Dylan Stevenson at the edge position, that'd be a huge get. We have Dylan Stevens as a 4-star defense. That's who I thought you were talking about early. But Dylan Stevenson is an edge guy out of Miami, 4-star kid, but looks like he's leaning heavily to FSU.
Yeah, look, guys are doing good things. I predict FSU to finish first this year in the ACC. So in recruiting for 2024, which would be good. I mean, the Clemson's been up there for a while now. About time they get their throne taken down. But good stuff, man. Hope you guys, FSU fans, enjoyed that. Dave and I did not, but it is what it is. In a super chat from Gator versus $5, my man says 13. So impressive. I'm assuming.
Hey, it's good for us when that we expect to walk away with half of them being commits. I mean, I could bring 30 on, but if I only get 4 of them.
All right, you had your time. I texted Judd Davis. I said, "Go Gators," and he said, "Boom." I said, "Look like us out there, didn't they?" Even though I wasn't watching. Lanil Whitehead, he's been showing some love, man. I appreciate all your comments and all your kind words. He says, will the spacesuit come out Friday? Bro, I hope it comes out Friday and I don't take it off. You know what I'm saying? That's the goal here. That I
predict the spacesuit to come out sometime this weekend.
Dave's feeling cocky, boys.
He is.
He's over.
Hey, I'm going to be back at the pool Saturday, baby. So I'm late on them Billy Napier videos. You know why? I'll be having them shades on though.
Come on, baby.
Oh, boy.
The next topic is everyone's favorite news segment of the show, and that is. You couldn't even hear me. I gave you guys like a this or that, but I was muted. So anyway,
we heard you loud and clear.
I don't think they did though. I don't think they did.
Oh,
probably not.
Probably not. This or
they're probably
that.
Safe.
We got 1 from Dave and 2 from Steve. Dave, we'll start with you first, my friend. This or that. Hit me.
Am I doing 1? Okay. Does Caleb Williams... Okay, if this happens, this has got to happen because it could be other people. But does Caleb Williams win the Heisman this year, or does Brock Bowers repeat as a Mackey Award winner?
Okay, is this or that? Okay. Shoo.
Ooh.
Which one's more likely to happen? I think Caleb Williams winning back-to-back Heisman is more likely to happen due to the fact that the quarterback change at Georgia. I feel like the scenario in USC is only improving for Caleb. Another year under his belt. I think he's a little bitter. I think he might have some new fingernail painting. I think he's going to be dialed in. He's more likely to win the Heisman. He's the favorite, and he should be. There's really nobody. They're trying to hype up these other guys that are surrounding him. I appreciate it. I think Drake May is going to be a great quarterback. I think Jordan Travis is going to have a good year. I just think they're going to be able to hold a light to Caleb Williams, if I got to be honest.
Cool. Look, I mean, Lincoln Riley just seems to do nothing but breed Heisman winners. And,
Sure.
you know, Caleb Williams hasn't done anything to show me he's going to slow down aside from maybe the finger paint thing. It's just still so odd to me. So if I had to go this or that, I'm going to go Caleb Williams repeats as a Heisman candidate or a Heisman winner under the tutelage of Lincoln Riley. He has Heisman in a picture of a goat because they just give him Heismans.
Yeah, it's kind of hard because, I mean, you look at USC and how they've recruited and kind of their schedule this year, too. I mean, it's compared to the talent level that they have against a lot of the opponents on their schedule. I mean, I would say it was easy for USC, or it should be, but you just never know in college football. On top of that, Brock Bowers, he always has a tendency to be open. The guy it looks like he runs a freaking 4.3 for a tight end, but I think his speed's like 4.4. He has great acceleration. But he's always open. Like, he's always there. And it doesn't take that much difficulty for any quarterback or new quarterback to throw to somebody open unless they're very inaccurate. And you don't really see inaccurate passes from quarterbacks all the time like that if somebody's wide open like that. So it was really hard for me. I want to pick Caleb Williams too. But, there's a lot of good tight ends out there too. So you just don't know. So he's up against those guys. I have to pick Caleb Williams, but man, that's a little hard one for me, man, because it's Brock Bowers, and then you have every other tight end out there in college football. So yeah, I hate to say that because I don't like Georgia, but it's the truth.
Bro, Wes says Brock. Dig Big says Brock. Todd Freeman also said Brock as well. Logan Walker says, "Yo, what's up, big dog?" And Adrian says it's hard to win back-to-back Heisman's. Muddy thinks that Bo Nix will win. Says it looks like a different player, or Phoenix from Washington. I think Phoenix from Washington. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say
Penix
it's really
is a
hard
sleeper
to.
pick. I like that. That's a good idea, Muddy.
Yeah, I just don't think the marketing. I just don't think the campaign will bode well for him out there in Washington. And it looks like we're being spammed here from Likeable Layla. I need to ban this person.
You also got to look at Georgia's schedule compared to the talent that they recruit too. So, I mean,
sure. Layla, what's up, girl? How you doing? Good to see you. Steve, you got 2 this or that's. Let's start with the first one, and then we'll do the bracket last.
All right, let's go look oddball statistic here. Okay, there have been 8 times that a national team, like a professional team, basketball team, got to the finals at the same time that same city's professional hockey team got to the finals. At no point in those 8 times have both of them won. As of right now, the Heat and the Panthers are both entering the finals as 8 seeds, if I'm not mistaken. I think, Shelton, that was
ironic that it's eight time and 2 8 seeds. I didn't pick that up.
8 seeds. Yeah. Oh. So the question for you boys is this or that: will the combination of the Heat and Panthers break this curse, or that combination will continue?
I think you kind of said it right. Look, you know where I'm headed, boys. They got that. Hey, Jimmy got that dog. I think the Panthers are on an absolute burner right now. They have, ever since coming back down 3-1 against the Bruins, which is, I love the fact that they came down 3-1 against the Bruins. We beat the Celtics 4-3, and we beat the Heat. I'm a big Heat fan, obviously. I like the chances here. Vegas Knights, this is their second time in the NHL Stanley Cup Finals in 6 years. They've only been around for 6 years. Yeah, I know hockey. Suck it, okay? So I like Vegas. I just like because it's just Vegas teams excite me. They're just fun. But obviously I'm pulling for the Panthers here. But I think the Panthers are on one. Panthers have been good for a while too. People don't realize that. I know they're an 8 seed, but 2 years ago when the Avs won, they were, I think, if not the best, I think the Avs were the best, the second best team in the NHL. So they've been good for a while, as have the Knights. I think these are probably the 2 best teams. I thought the Oilers were going to do a lot better. They looked absolutely unstoppable at some point. So both teams have gone through some dogs. But the Miami Heat are going to be up against an absolute beast in the Nuggets. I'm not a fan of the matchup. I'm really not. I think the Aaron Gordon and Jokic combo is deadly. I don't know what we're going to do. We don't really have guys that big. But Spo hasn't let us down this point. I still believe in him. But yeah, I think they get it done.
Yeah, I'm just laughing at Harrison's messages over here, just making fun of me when we're talking about other sports. I don't know, man. That's hard to do, especially 2 teams. Can the curse be broken? Can it be broken? But I don't know. You talk really highly about this hockey team, and my wife loves hockey. She kind of watches it, so I'll give you credit on that one.
I think the hockey team has a better chance than I think. Look, and I love the Heat. But I just think that game's gonna be tough.
The Heat had what, a 3-0 lead and it almost
hey,
lost.
Hey, easy. Okay?
They won. They
won. Don't come here with smoke, Dave. No, it was all planned. It was all planned.
I don't know.
Jimmy lost Game 7 in Miami last year. He said we're going to be back here, same place, same time, and we're going to win. So he had to lose the 3 games to get back to Game 7, but he wanted to do it to them at Boston because it's simple, Dave. Like, how did you not see that? Relax.
Hey,
Dave, you're done. Steve, what do you want? Dave, you're done. Dave, you're muted. Dave, you're muted.
I'll say yes.
Oh, gosh, I love this place. Look, so the one thing I will say is I didn't realize that had the Heat and the Panthers not won, this would still be the same scenario for Boston. the Bruins and the Celtics would both be in this scenario again, who they have had the opportunity in the past. Look, I'm a Florida guy, born and raised in Florida. I'm gonna say that Florida and the Heat and the Panthers can break the streak. There is no scientific anything behind that. I am simply doing it out of just sheer heart for the state. So I'm gonna say that the Heat and Panthers can kick the curse right in the balls.
Hey, now, Shelton, you never let me say yes or no.
I don't care what you just say, Dave. You've.
I'm gonna say they do it.
Okay.
No, the damage is done, Dave. The damage is done.
They're doing it.
Oh, Shelly.
Muddy says Heat in 7. It needs to be Heat in 6. I'm not trying to go to Denver, and I can't. My heart can't handle a Game 7. I have never felt. I've watched the Heat play in a couple Game 7s.
He says, "I'm unsubbing because of Dave."
Yeah.
Ricky.
What's up, Edith? How you doing, Bubba? I've watched a couple Game 7s with LeBron and Dwayne back in the day, and I never felt as nervous as I did in this past one because when you have LeBron and D Wade, that was a hell of a football or hell of a basketball team. But Jimmy and the boys showed out. Caleb Martin, that dog in him too. But it's going to be a dogfight. I'm excited. I'm excited to see how they match up with the Nuggets, and I'm excited to see him get it done. Did you see he didn't even hold the trophy? Bam went to go give it to him. He goes, "Nah, I'll hold the next one." Buddy, there's a quote that came out. I don't know who she is. I don't know her name, but she's a famous tennis player. He DM'd her before
I saw that, yeah.
Before the play-in game. And he goes, "Hey, you want tickets to the NBA Finals for when Miami gets there?" Before the play-in game. Hey, him got that dog in him.
Him knows what's up.
Him got that dog in him. All right, our last
hit the button. You gotta hit the button.
Got that dog in him.
That's how you do it.
There it is.
I love it.
There it is.
Likeable Layla says, "I'm unsubscribing from Sheldon." Well, I'll just ban you from the chat, Layla. Suck it.
I did say yes, by the way.
She loves you.
Layla's like, what grade is she in? She's sixth grade? She just graduated 5th grade?
Going into 5th. Going into 5th.
Good night,
Harley. Layla. All right, last thing is Steve, go ahead. I'm going to get banned. Go ahead.
No, do we want to go over the
one.
must-wins, or we doing the next category here? We doing the third one?
I feel like this one could go on forever, but we got to kind of keep it somewhat tidy. But we got more content, boys. We're so humping. We got everybody in here hanging out.
We'll move on. Let's do the must-wins. We'll move on to the must-wins. We got a couple of.
We're dumping this. We're dumping this.
We're done. We'll do the last one. We'll do it again. We'll see when the next round comes out. We can talk about it next week. It won't be done yet. We'll save it.
All right.
We'll save
Whatever. All right, so next thing is we got two last topics here. We got Florida Gators must-win game, just one game. What's the game that we feel that is on the schedule? You got to get it done. This has got to be a big win for you guys. What is it? I think it's been great to get Steve's perspective. All three of us are gonna have our own different perspective. We all feel much differently about how the season's gonna go along. So I'm gonna go to you first, Steve. I think where are you gonna come from on this? And obviously I'm gonna do FSU too.
He's gonna say Florida State.
No, actually, the way I'm after looking at Florida's schedule for a little bit, I honestly think your must-win game is going to be Kentucky, and I'll put into perspective really fast as to why. Because at that point, you guys have already played Utah and Tennessee by the time you get around to Kentucky. You have two scenarios that you're either potentially 2-2. Or you're 3-1, 4-0, right? You either feel really good about where you're at, or you feel really bad about where you're at. Okay, so if you come into the Kentucky game, right? It's at Kentucky. Kentucky won last year. I know they lost a lot of talent, and you win that game. You are now likely, you're over 500. You're winning. You're in a winning category for the year after the Kentucky game if you can put a W on the schedule there. Now, if you come into that game and you lose it, based on what you've already played, you could be walking out of that game with 3 losses already. And that puts a big damper on the remainder of your season when you have South Carolina, Georgia, Arkansas, LSU, and Florida State still to go. So if you come out of the Kentucky game with a loss, it just hurts what your outlook is for the rest of the year. If you can come into the Kentucky game confident and have a good, a solid top 4 record out of those first 4 games, then you win that Kentucky game. Well, now you're confident moving into the second half of your schedule, and it can propel you into potentially upsetting an LSU or an Arkansas or Georgia game where you stay close because you feel good about what you've done prior. The Kentucky game for me, I think, based on where you're at after those first 4 games, could make or break the psyche of what that team looks like.
Okay, I'll go next. So
you're going next.
I don't like the Kentucky one. That's the one game that's like the one game I didn't have in my mind. I see you guys in the comments. Some are saying
he's got a good point though.
He's got some points. I think there's more important games. I see you guys saying Vandy, which is a joke. Stop it. Like, I get where you're coming from, but that's not a must-win game. I see you guys say there's a couple. Look, it's tough because there's a couple games that you could really peg as a must-win game. Honestly,
McNeese State.
That's definitely a must win. Look, I'm battling between Utah and Tennessee, and I was gonna say Utah, and I realized we won Utah last year, and it didn't do what I thought it would do for us. I think the turning point game for us that would have also been a turning point game for us last year, and it was our turning point game the wrong way this year, was Tennessee. Tennessee's going to be at home. It's the fourth game of the season, I believe, right? After two cupcakes. So, look, you lose to Utah. You lose 2 cupcake games. Or, excuse me, you lose to Utah. No, it is a third game. It's right before Charlotte. So, you lose. Let's say Utah is a scratch. Utah, I mean, that's a good game, but, like, it's just like FSU and LSU. It doesn't matter if you lose or win because if you win the conference, right? Going to McNeese State, great. You win Tennessee, you roll into Charlotte and roll into Kentucky, you can get burning. And that's why I think you do make a good point with Kentucky, but Tennessee starts that train. So Tennessee is really important to me. They're obviously going to be down to Joe Milton. They're losing, what's his name, Hood Hooker. You almost beat them last year at home. You had a last possession. You were down by 4. There was an opportunity there at their house. We're going to be at home. I know we're down some guys too, but that's a must-win for me, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, those are some good points. What I like about both of the teams that y'all picked is it's not the team that I picked, so that's even better.
Yeah.
As much as me living in Georgia, I always want to beat Georgia. I mean, obviously, if you're looking at this year, I'm kind of my team is LSU. I mean, how many times have you had a good year going for you, or you're maybe looking great, and then that dreaded LSU game comes up, and you always find a way to lose it, whether it's close. Whether it's a blowout, it's usually close. It's never really a blowout, but you always find a way to lose to LSU. I'm sick and tired of losing to LSU. The last time we beat them was Dan Mullen's first year as a head coach. Think about that. So now, obviously, the LSU fans, that's all they talk about is, oh, we always beat Florida. We're their Tennessee. I'm tired of being LSU's Tennessee. And especially if we're going to go to this all-SEC conference or all-SEC schedule, probably not even play LSU, may play LSU permanently. I don't know. But, like, you need to beat LSU. I'm sick and tired of losing to LSU, especially, I mean, you go back to 2020. Everybody thought that was just okay, cool. We're going to go in there. LSU sucks. We're going to beat them. Shoe throw happens. We lose. Find a way to lose that game. 2019, obviously Joe Burrow and that whole team was lighting everybody up. Still kept it close there for a little bit. I think it was 28-42 was the final score. Lose that game. 2021, 20. I mean, I can go through all the years.
We got it, Dave.
It's just
we
always find a way to lose to LSU, and it's always a close game, and we always shoot ourselves in the foot. Tired of losing to LSU. It's got to be LSU.
I like that pick. And something.
Is it LSU? Is it LSU? Okay.
Gator versus anybody says statement win is different than a must win. And I think the Utah game is a statement game, right? That's where I kind of went away from it. But to your LSU point, I know our feelings want to be LSU. I want to be LSU too. The issue I have in it not being a must win is how late it is in the season. Now you could still argue like, hey, that could be a big win because if you beat, like, let's say you're
pick.
Yeah, but let's say you're struggling, right? Let's say you get Kentucky, you got Vandy, South Carolina, but let's say you lose to Georgia and Arkansas. That LSU could be, a big must-win because you beat LSU, you get confidence going to Missouri, and then it flows into Florida State. So it could be a last quarter pickup game. I think all of our picks were really good picks. I think everyone's going to be kind of back and forth. I think everyone wants to win every game, and that's where we're at. But moving on, let's go into FSU's must-win. I'll let Dave go first. Steve, you can go last, and then we'll be wrapping it up.
Do all the things you want to do.
Well, for me, it's obvious. I would say Clemson. Obviously, Clemson's been pretty dominant in the ACC here lately. Florida State's been getting up there in talent now, especially with Norvell. He's improved that program from the Fighting Willie Taggarts that dug themselves a grave, and I'm telling you that he's slowly starting to dig them out of that grave that Willie Taggart put them in. They were pretty good last year. The game was pretty good last year, but I think, you got to get past the Louisvilles. You can't be losing to the teams you're not supposed to lose to. But you could say LSU at the beginning of the season, but Florida State's got to get past that Clemson hump. I would say the must.
Is Ashley laughing?
Would be Clemson.
No.
Yeah, bro, I hear her cheesing out.
I hear some laughter.
Yeah, I was like, wait, I recognize that laugh.
That wheeze.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I was like, what's happening? I'm like looking around my room. I'm like, what the fuck?
She wandered up here and just In
to
the
further
middle of a
continue
spiel,
that,
I'm sorry, Dave.
to further continue that, I mean, if you look at Florida State last year, I mean, they didn't beat any hard. I don't even think they beat any ranked teams last year. To get a statement win like Clemson, especially, I mean, that is a must win. So say Florida State, they go through their schedule, they get past LSU. You have to win that Clemson game. You have to be undefeated anyway in the ACC to even make it to a playoff, but you have to beat Clemson. I mean, you beat LSU and you beat Clemson. You might be smooth sailing. I don't know. Florida and Florida State was close last year.
Well, that won't ruin the ACC championship hope.
Yeah, we could ruin it.
So look, I was going to choose Clemson too. I won't choose Clemson because you chose Clemson. I'll kind of keep it spicy here. Reason being, their schedule's kind of weak. You don't play NC State, who I felt was obviously that was one of your losses last year. Wake Forest loses Sam Hartman. I don't find that game as important as it once was. Duke is a basketball school. You could argue Pitt. Pitt's kind of in a weird place. Miami is an absolute joke of a football team. So I'm going to put it on LSU. I think the LSU game last year, I kind of give you shit for it. It's almost like LSU lost it versus you guys winning it. So there's a lot of unanswered questions there. And it really sets the tone for the rest of the season. Although it goes to the argument that I made against Utah saying it doesn't impact your ACC schedule, I think the amount of hype that is behind Florida State right now and Jordan Travis possibly winning a Heisman, if this game doesn't go the way that they're anticipating the season to go, could be really detrimental to what happens. I think, don't forget, we're only a season removed from Norvell being on the hot seat, right? So it could take a game like this to kick things right back the opposite direction. I'm not saying that it will, but to me, with how the season's headed, all the buildup is going to be happening. This is going to be one of the most anticipated games, I think, of that first week, and I think it's going to be really important.
Yeah, look, I like that pick. I think the easy pick, obviously, is Clemson, especially coming out of the LSU game. If FSU has a win over LSU, and then you couple that with a win over Clemson, the confidence level is at an all-time high, and you are now playing through the remainder of your season with the momentum that you really feel it takes a playoff team to the level that they want to be. Right now, look, if you come stumbling out of the gate to LSU and you have a loss, it's so early and it doesn't have anything to do with the ACC that Clemson becomes the biggest game of the season again, because if you lose to Clemson and you lose to LSU, your playoff hopes are done by week 4.
Playoffs and ACC, because you're on the same side as Clemson, which sucks even more. Like, that's what makes that game so important.
We don't have sides anymore. We don't have sides. We don't. We're. It's all one conference. So if we play, if we lose to Clemson,
which makes LSU even bigger.
So if we lose to Clemson and run the table, right. But then we would. We have the potential of playing Clemson twice, right?
Oh wow! I didn't realize you got rid of the sides. Then LSU by far is your dog. Then 100%. I think the rest of the teams are just going to fall off. Like, you could lose essentially 2 ACC games. Like, let's say a Pitt, because I feel like a Pitt's like an upset game. Into Clemson, one of those weird games. You could still make it happen. LSU definitely is. I was going to give it to Clemson, but with that spew of knowledge, got to go LSU.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we have the shot of playing Clemson twice. We should. I mean, it's just really about what that does to the psyche of the team. If we've now lost to LSU and Clemson, are we as good as we thought we were? Maybe we don't feel that way. Even if we get another shot at Clemson, you're still only winning the ACC at best. Then
interesting stuff.
And
I didn't realize.
You're probably going to be ranked pretty high preseason, I would think. And then
even
if you lose to LSU, you want to lose early. So, like, if you lose to LSU, make it a close game, beat Clemson twice. There you go.
Good stuff. Good talk, boys. Awesome. And Super Chat from Enroll Walker says, my sons and I are going to the LSU game this year. Good stuff. I'm sure I'll be there. Plus, I hate LSU for stealing Perkins.
Quick, dude. Scott Carter just posted the Gators have now won a national championship in every full NCAA season since 2008 and 2009. Impressive streak continues.
For golf?
That's in every sport.
Say that again?
So we've won a national championship in just not every sport, but like we've won at least a national championship in a sport since 2008.
Cool shit. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Gators 15. Anything on Austin Simmons? I mean, how much could you? I mean, dude, I thought you guys were gonna be sick of hearing about that guy. Aaron says Simmons has begun the admission process for 2023. There's a ton of noise behind it, man. I'm just gonna wait and see. That could be something that happens this weekend too. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised.
I know nothing.
If it's going to happen, it's going to happen soon, because we had obviously. Oh, I'm going to talk about the enrollees. We got Eugene Wilson, who enrolled.
DeJohn
Johnson, Gavin Hill, and Caden Jones, offensive linemen. So they all enrolled this weekend. So I'd imagine if the Austin Simmons, the rumors are true, should probably be happening soon. If it hasn't already happened, it's just been kept silent. I'm surprised it hasn't hit the the market yet, but we will see. But boys and girls, phenomenal show. Absolutely incredible. We broke 100 likes, have over 115 people here the whole time. If Layla's there, tell her to come on and say hi. You guys are incredible. Make sure you guys like, subscribe. I more than likely will do a call-in show tomorrow to kind of pre-hype up the Jubilee weekend and the possibility of Austin Simmons joining the squad for the 2023 season. So be tuned in for that. Turn the bell on. The call-in shows are always a fantastic flipping time. You guys are always great. So, again, that'll be around 7:30, 8 o'clock as usual. Go for about an hour. We'll probably be live, hopefully, a lot this weekend. So, again, turn the bell on. Be ready to rock and roll. And Sunday, we'll have a live show, our NFL show, at 7:35. So, the content is coming. It is coming in which way you want to look. We're humping and hollering over here. We're absolutely loving it. I think it was a fantastic show. One of the best shows we've had in a long time. It just keeps getting better and better each week, and it's not even football season yet, boys. So absolutely incredible. Love you guys as always. Love you guys for coming in here, saying hey, showing love, and being good in the chat. You guys are good. You guys are a good time tonight. And everyone say hi to Layla. Say hi, Layla.
Hello.
Hello. She just graduated 4th grade. And shout out again to Memorial Day was on Monday. Shout out to all of our veterans and to the men that served. And shout out to Cody, Evans Fanatics, served in the Marine Corps. He's also part of the fam now on Sundays. So love you guys. Love. Can Knowles call in? Harlan, Knowles are invited. Everyone can call in. We don't judge. You can always call in. Love you guys. Until next time, I'm Sheldon.
I'm Holly.
And I'm the Dave Meister.
And that's Layla. You guys have a good night. Be safe. Drive safe. Love you guys as always. Have a good weekend. Hopefully I'll be seeing much more of you guys. Drop a light, baby.
Watch me turn this life into something that you can never own.